When you're constantly having stuff pop up and looking at your phone, comparing yourself to other people.
Or feeling the need to create or share with the Lord during a season where the Lord is like, actually, I'm just trying to talk to you.
I really had to make a decision like, okay, am I going to put all these people, all these opportunities before me really being healthy, before my marriage really being healthy, or am I going to do what it takes?
Welcome back to another episode of Kingdom Heirs, where faith meets business, inspiring the kingdom-minded entrepreneur. Today, I've got the great privilege of having with me Grayson and Jeslyn.
That's right.
Bearden.
How's it going?
How you guys doing? Thanks for being here.
Man, hey,
Good. Thanks for having us.
Last minute, I looked down because I tend to stumble over people's names, not even because they're hard names. It's just for whatever in my brain. It gets a little a little choppy. So I looked down, but I'm glad you guys are here.
Thanks.
We've just been chatting for the past 30 minutes, getting to know each other a little bit better. Today we're going to talk about the dangers of becoming an influencer on social medias.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what we're talking about. You both have some really great experience in the social media realm as influencers. One of the things that I've noticed with you, Grayson, we were talking about it, on Facebook, you've had up to 130,000 followers, TikTok 2.1 million, Instagram 75,000, YouTube 20,000 followers, subscribers. That's very, very big accomplishment. And you did that in 3 short years?
Yeah.
Right? Jeslyn, you've got on your Instagram 36,000 and TikTok is 37,000. A little bit of a
47.
47,000. Who's counting today?
Not me.
Right? That's good. That's good that you're not counting. I've kind of given up on that. I do like to see the needle go up. So guys, if you would like, subscribe, and ring the bell now, our needle on our YouTube channel will go up from 500 and something to yours, and hopefully we'll hit 600 after this one. So guys, thank you for tuning in. We really do appreciate it. Today we want to talk about the dangers of being an influencer. And it's kind of funny because here we are, Kingdom Heirs in many respects is to be an influencer. We want to bring the heart of God to the kingdom-minded community of believers, right? And so your background is, can you give me a little bit more about your background, how you got started in influencing? Did you just say, wake up, hey man, I want to be an influencer, I want to have 1 million followers? Is that like that was your brainchild out of high school? Like what got you started?
That's a great question. So I grew up in a church environment, so very charismatic household. Family is all in ministry, worship leaders, pastors all across the country. So I grew up in an atmosphere of influencing people who are making a difference in people's lives.
Yeah, that's
and
a great point.
I believe that's what true influencing is. I think today's definition, may have other terms, more influencing people to buy products or engage
marketing,
with a certain. Yeah,
right.
There's definitely a marketing term, but for me, influencing at its core, I want to make a difference in somebody's life. I got started years ago when I was actually working in ministry as a youth pastor, working alongside my parents at a church here in Corpus Christi, Texas. And I just started posting stuff online. I love to interact and engage with people. That's where my heart is. I love to be around, people in church and ministry and preaching, singing, things of that nature. And when I found social media, I found an avenue where I could really express, my creative, itch. I love to create things. I love humor and expressing myself in that avenue. And social media really gave me that platform to be able to do that with people, to connect in a very authentic, transparent way that I like to connect with people, really sharing my personality, but also the love of the Lord. So I started years ago when I was still a teenager, and the Lord took me on a wild ride of growing platforms and speaking to people and reaching people all over the world.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that was, what year did you graduate high school?
I actually didn't. I got my GED.
That still counts.
I went to a little bit school.
You're talking to a bunch of entrepreneurs.
Yeah, come on.
Entrepreneurs are like,
No.
if I don't see a reason to finish that, I'm not going to finish that.
Yeah.
I'm going to go over here and hover over here.
So it's funny. I actually went to a little bitty school out in the country called Orange Grove. Shout out to my Orange Grove Bulldogs.
Come on.
I became homeschooled because I was a ballet dancer, and I actually left to travel. And I went and moved across the country to Portland, Oregon, danced there, danced in Asia, moved to
no
Atlanta.
big deal.
Yeah, dance was something, and this is kind of a part of my story. You know, all my family, they're worship leaders and pastors, and they're on big platforms. My aunt's been Joel Osteen's senior worship pastor since his dad died and he took the church, and they all got Dove Awards, Grammy Awards, and I found myself in this powerhouse family, and it's like, where did my voice belong? You know, there's almost the devil really stepped into an area of insecurity for me, like feeling where I belonged in my family. And I found something that nobody did. You know, dance was my own thing that was personal for me. So I found that and really thought I was going to make a career of it, and I was on track to. But the Lord got a hold of me in Atlanta, Georgia, and said, "You're doing what you're good at, but not what you're called to do."
Wow.
So I dropped everything that day. The Lord spoke to me and drove to Nashville, then got in the car and made the long 17-hour trip back to Corpus Christi, Texas. And then shortly after, I started working in ministry, but never graduated high school. I got my GED shortly thereafter because I was moving around and traveling a lot. So really unconventional education, but I don't regret it.
What year did you say, I'm done, I'm out of that?
Oh, man, probably
17?
2016, 2017 is when I left the dance world.
So how long were you part of that circuit?
Oh, man, since I was a kid. I started taking dance classes in like 5th grade.
Okay.
Yeah, and that brought a lot of, you know, I come from a little rodeo attending, mud wrestling, football playing town, and you get a little boy who's taking dance classes. It's like I got a lot of names, a lot of things poked at me, but I was always a creative kid, you know. It's hard to find those avenues sometimes in these smaller towns where you can really express your creativity in a healthy way to edify who you are as a man, and that was definitely a challenge.
So that's
up.
a great. You say something. It's I completely identify that. My mother put me and my sisters, my 2 younger sisters, in dance.
Yeah.
And tap, jazz, ballet.
Yeah, there you go.
Ballet.
Yeah,
and I'm like, Mom,
man.
seriously, ballet? She's like, yeah, I can't pick you up for another hour. There's a class. Just take the class.
That's good.
And I'm like, seriously?
Yeah.
And gymnastics. And I did gymnastics as well. And I love dancing. I love moving. I love just enjoying it.
Yeah.
What I hated was, because I was also in football.
Yeah, okay.
Junior Pop Warner football. Mm-hmm. And one day I remember I couldn't I came late to practice, and the coach, a jerk coach, I won't say the name, but I would like to.
Yeah.
A jerk coach told all the kids, and they called me Jimmy. He's the one guy that called me Jimmy. Nobody's ever called me Jimmy before. He's like the one guy called me Jimmy. And he said, well, Jimmy, hey, everybody listen up. Jimmy can't be here because he had ballet practice.
Jeez.
And everybody started laughing. And I'm like, you big jerk. I can't believe you said that.
Yeah.
And then later, some other people told me, they said, hey, but look, most of these NFL players take ballet.
Yeah.
So they can flex. And this is before the years of like yoga, right?
Yeah, sure.
So I thought it was really funny. So by the time I was in 7th grade, I was finally able to get out of dance.
Yeah.
And I did it for 5-6 years.
Yeah.
So I'm very thankful
Hey,
to...
man, it teaches, I think it can be a great way to learn discipline, learn respect.
It's very disciplined.
And it'll kick your butt, too.
It does kick your butt.
It'll strengthen you up. So.
And you get beat up sometimes, too, by those other boys that are jealous that you're... You're
in a room full of girls.
That's it. They always saw that. They said, you're surrounded by girls. I am. Well, they need someone to pick them up.
That's right.
Throw them up in the air.
That's right. Yeah.
So anyway, sorry, I had to hover on that. I thought I was the only one that had that experience. I'm glad to know that you had that experience.
I love to share it.
As well.
That's awesome. That's awesome, man.
I don't think I've ever shared that with other people.
Now
not in the past
knows,
15 years, but now everybody knows.
Yeah.
All right, so that was 2017, 2016, 2017. At that point, you're transitioning. Is that when you jump back in at your family's church?
Yeah.
And you get into ministry there?
Yeah. After that, I start working in ministry, and we have a friend. Her name is Kimberly Jones. She goes by Real Talk Kim on social media, and she is a personality, dude. She is like somebody who is just outlandish and loud, and she's actually somebody who told me. She said, you can. Use this, use these platforms and speak, make a difference in people's lives. And she's the kind of person that she would be driving down the road, her car would break down, and she'd jump on an app called Periscope. If anybody knows Periscope out there, it was the first live streaming type of social media platform. And she'd say, my car's broke down, but God is good. And she'd just start preaching on the side of cars in smoke, preaching on the side of the road. And that grabbed me. Something about that, just like in your spontaneous moments, just speaking about the goodness of God and people engaging with you. It wasn't on a stage. It wasn't behind a podium. It was on a screen, connecting with people who are tuning in to your present moment. And to me, that was powerful. It stripped back so much pomp and circumstance of attending, with a room full of 500 people to watch one person speak. It made it personal. And that grabbed me. And she really encouraged me to start, speaking out and getting on these platforms to make a difference. So I started doing that. At the same time, I was pastoring a youth group and youth ministry and leading worship at my parents' church. And Jelson was leading worship with us, and we started dating. And
we got engaged on TikTok Live.
We did do that.
It was live streamed.
I love it.
Yeah, we did do that.
How fun is that?
My cousin was holding the phone.
Whose idea was that?
Oh man, that was mine. Yeah,
how many likes did you get for that? How many?
There were probably a couple
there was
thousand
like
people
thousands
tuning
of people watching. Yeah, it was fun. He used to do this thing called TikTok Church.
I did,
and it's I was watching all of this happen firsthand, right? So it's like everybody would ask back then, like, what is the secret sauce? Like, how are you growing so fast? How is this happening for you? And it wasn't on purpose. Like, it truly just wasn't. He wasn't trying to grow a following. He was just being authentically himself and connecting with people online, and they loved it.
So is that when? So you saw Grayson do this. You're like, well, I'm going to start a channel. Is that how it happened for you?
No, I hated it back then.
Okay, so you hated it.
I hated it because he would like stop. He'd be like, I have a video idea. And then he would start making it happen. And I'd be like, oh my God, I roll. Like, this is so annoying. You're always making content. And honestly, we were in a very different place back then as well. So it's like, I was annoyed by it. He was always creating something. I hated being on camera too. I used to be like really camera shy. And so when he would want me to say something, I would be like next to him, like nodding, like I forgot my line. And he's like, it's not that serious. Like I think I was just taking myself way too seriously. Because if you're on social platforms and you have this like serious image that you're trying to, like, I have so just thrown that out the window. And I've found that if you're just authentically yourself, relatable, and talking and being funny and a normal person, that's what people really grab a hold of.
It's true.
So I found that to be true even on my own platforms. But
it took you a couple of years.
It took me a couple of years to get over myself.
Well, it's front and center. And some people say, why should you be front and center? Right? And some people ask that. It's a little bit jaded or what it may be. Or they themselves wouldn't put themselves out there. So why? Because they feel embarrassed. So why would you put yourself out there?
Right.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, talk about influencers in the church. Jesus was probably the best, highest influencer in the world until he comes back again.
Right.
He's probably the greatest influencer.
Absolutely.
If you really think about it.
He is, yeah.
So that's a big part of, and we're called to do.
And he trained his disciples to then go and be influencers.
Yes,
look at
it's
the
so
disciples,
true.
Man, who built the early church, like influenced the world.
Yes.
If they would have not given their yes,
That's right.
I don't think the church would be what it is today.
Agreed.
Across continents, we had just a few men who gave Jesus a yes because they were influenced, and then they were equipped to be an influence.
And then they brought it to their families.
That's right.
Right.
And they got their families buy in. They got their wives buy in.
Right.
Remember them? A lot of those guys were married. And they had to get their wives to buy into this.
Yeah.
If you think about it, if you don't, you've got the heart of God, you've got the call of God on you.
Yeah.
But if you don't have your spouse in that with you, they may not have the same calling.
Yeah.
But if they're no way, no how, how far are you really going to go?
Yeah.
And so it's that tenderness. It's that tenderness of our relationships to one another, our spouses. That's so crucial. Yeah, is that I see immense value in what you bring, as who you are as a believer and who you're called to be, and your role and how together we do this together, and how do we do life together? Yeah, right. So for you guys started your life. You were already influencing prior to getting married. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was right before we were dating, and it was in the midst of all that, and we got married 2020. So kind of right in the middle of the pandemic.
Did you guys actually have a ceremony?
We did. We actually
had a big old wedding.
It was a whole time.
Probably
that's a whole story in itself. We we got married in Houston. The day of our wedding, a hurricane hit, and the day before, our venue canceled.
Yeah,
and we had people flying in all over the country.
They were evacuating.
Wedding. Yes,
so we
as people were flying in.
Correct.
Yes, we lost our wedding venue because they had to evacuate. So
Two hurricanes.
We had
coming into the
18
Gulf.
hours to find somewhere else to move this entire wedding to, and we did.
Where'd you do it?
We did it at the Carriage House in Houston.
Yeah, Spring.
Which was not our original venue.
It was beautiful.
But it was still beautiful.
Absolutely beautiful.
And they were like, yeah, you can have this place.
Well,
everybody else is gone. Everybody else canceled. Yeah.
It rained hard, and then right before our ceremony, the clouds parted, and it was the most beautiful.
I love that.
Oh my gosh, it was very, very prophetic that whole day.
I love that.
So I'm doing all this stuff on social media in the midst of our relationship. In COVID, it really takes off. So she's watching, kind of taking a front row seat. Not my wife yet, but seeing all this stuff happening and doing church services online. Really, before it, that was a huge thing.
Yeah.
And I did a thing called TikTok Church, which would be a weekly service online, just hosting on my phone that people would tune it. Live stream. Wow. Yeah. Actually, 2019 Easter Sunday, I did a live stream baptism service where people got in their showers, bathtubs, pools, sinks, dipped their head in their sink from England, Africa, South America to here in the States, just all over the world, people who had given their life to Christ through the streams. And wanted to make that public declaration of their.
I love that.
It was so cool.
So awesome.
And they couldn't go to church.
No.
So it was like that. I mean, it was so serious to all of us.
It was so beautiful, a community of people. And
that's a good point. I want to say that. And may that never be the case again.
Yeah.
If the governments try to shut down churches.
Oh, yeah.
You just better stand up there and say, over my dead body.
That's right.
You're not shutting us down.
No.
That whole thing is so demonic.
Something I told people, because churches really want to reach people online, as you should.
Yeah.
I mean, our culture, I think our generations and below really live to a degree online. Their life is done online. They connect with people online, their friends, whatever have you.
It's true.
But this thing will never replace the church house. I've
true.
always said that this is a window. The church is the door.
Yeah, that's good.
You're never going to get in the house through the window. You got to walk through the door. So this can play a good role in the house, but it doesn't replace the house.
I like that.
So I think for churches that we're always trying to, because I got asked all the time, like, how do you do it? What's the secret? What's the figure out the algorithm? Like what's the secret deal? I was like, there's really not. If you be true to who you are and present that. Who you are.
Yeah.
Obviously, equipment and stuff helps. You can make it look nice and polished, but you can put lipstick on a pig all day and it'll still be a pig.
I mean, there's strategy. I just don't think that works when it comes to Christianity and kingdom.
Yeah.
Like I just really don't. Yeah, they see right through it.
Yeah. People don't want personality in their pastor. It's good to have a personality, but if all you are is personality, people are going to see right through that. They want to connect transparently and authentically with somebody.
That's good.
And I think that's what's important about being online and presenting.
But it's also hard, like sharing your life publicly is something that I shied away from for years. And I always had this platform. It's not really one that I asked for because it came from his.
Yes.
If that makes sense. Like I always joked around and was like, the top 10% of your followers followed me. And so
because there's interest.
They were so interested.
I wonder what his wife's like.
So they started following me. That's the only reason that I amassed, I don't know what it was, 10, 11,000 followers for the last several years. And then it never grew past that because it wasn't my thing.
Yeah.
But I found a lot of hardship in like trying to be transparent and sharing your life, especially when you start going through some hard things and then people have questions and it's like, how much do I want to let people in? I have to say something because there's all this speculation and it's difficult.
Has it become a life in a fishbowl?
Yeah,
it was. I would say it was for sure.
Yeah, I was, in those years of doing a lot of stuff publicly, I was going through some of the hardest secret sin in the background that not even my fiance knew about at the time.
At the time.
Yeah.
And it crashed and burned one day. The Lord, everything in the darkness comes to light.
Yes, it does.
Whether you like it or not, which is why I'm a big proponent. Bring it to light yourself. That way the Lord doesn't have to. It's a lot easier that way, man.
It can be cleaner.
Yeah, it's a lot cleaner that way. But I was dealing with just a lot of sexual addiction, drug abuse, and just in a hole. In a hole. I was in a hole. A whole moral.
Let me ask you something. So, is it something that, because I think what you just said there is real, and everybody has those.
Sure.
Everybody has those. Everybody cross paths with those things at some point in their life, and some of them camp in the path.
Yeah.
Right. And so, how was it like? Was it like a little bit, and then a little bit more, and then a little bit more, and then it was full blown? Or had it been there since you were a youth? Was it introduced as a youth?
Yeah.
And then it was dormant, or was it always kind of there? Like, because that's a real thing.
Yeah.
Because we're real people.
Yeah.
We all face the same thing. Even Christ faced all of these things.
Yeah.
But yet he didn't do it, but he faced all of it.
Sure.
Right.
Absolutely.
And so was that something that was just kind of like, wham, bam, there it is. It just happened. Oh my goodness. Or was it something that was just knocking at the door and
Definitely knocking at the door. I had some things happen when I was younger. Just some abuse when I was a child.
Which are known as entry points.
Absolutely.
If they're not addressed, they become, if they're never really talked about.
Taint your innocence.
It
robs
does.
purity from you.
It does.
And that grew in my life, growing up. In my adolescence and my young adulthood, and living a public life since I was little. My parents have always been involved to some degree in the public.
Yeah, in other people's lives.
Yeah.
Helping other people. Yeah.
So it's...
helping other people can be messy too.
It can.
It's because you're involved in
and it can
people's
cause
lives.
you to want to hide.
Yes.
It can cause you to want to put on this facade of perfection and performance, and not that your intentions are wrong, but you want to.
It's a natural reaction.
It is.
It's so natural.
And it's a defense mechanism to protect. And so I dealt with that a lot. Really dealt with it a lot. And an area of my life that has always been such a struggle is releasing with a brother or with somebody like my sin and my struggle. Feeling like I can't expose it because it's too shameful or it's too scary.
Or everybody's better off not knowing.
Or it'll be better if
That's
you don't
where a
know.
lot of people park.
Protection. Yeah.
It's better that they don't know while I implode.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then when I destroy myself,
It's dangerous.
it actually takes down other people around you.
Yeah, that's right. And that's been countless hours of counseling for us, that
well,
we've been working
Yeah.
on.
It's true.
Yeah,
It's so real.
Yeah,
It is real, but it's not. But and the devil wants you to think it's just your situation.
Oh no.
Yeah.
This is
Listen,
actually like
we've seen the statistics.
this is like I don't know
60% of the church. How about that?
There you go. That's what I was going to say. It is a high statistic of the realness of what people go through, the dark stuff they go through, and majority of them, it was happened to them first.
Yeah, that's right.
And then it was like, you be quiet, you don't talk about it, nobody knows.
Yeah.
And at that point, they don't have a voice. They have no voice anymore. Then they become a victim.
I don't think it's a coincidence that the Lord has allowed us to be public and to have a platform. Now, granted, the last couple years, I think these early years in our marriage have been very pivotal in building a strong foundation because God is preparing us to help those who are caught in those broken places and in that mess, and to understand what true restoration is. As pastors and people, I think we've seen in the church lately an exposing and a bringing to light of a lot of darkness in
That needs to be
ministry.
talked about.
That needs to be spoken about.
That needs to be talked about. Yeah.
But on my side, as one of those pastors who's walked through it, you see men and women who are having these downfalls that have no idea how to get restored, how to get healed, how to get free, how to be delivered, and how to step back into that place to really make a difference.
Yeah.
They just kind of go away and be quiet for a little bit.
And it's a shame because then the family carries the shame.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now we
true.
have to go in hiding.
That's so true.
And that's such
It's so
it's like the
backwards.
devil wins. It's like the devil
backwards.
wins.
Yeah.
Devil wins. Woo! Devil wins.
Yeah.
Another family. Another
and
family
we'll
out.
just be quiet from now on. That way no one brings it up again.
Yeah, and there definitely is a period, because I've been in it recently. Like I stepped back from my social medias. I took them down, made them private,
Inactive.
deactivated, inactive. To really focus on this right here and this right here. And that's important. You need to have that time.
I think that right there is the key to a repentant heart.
Yeah.
Is because it's got to cost you something to repent. And King David did that when he said, sacrifice has to cost me something.
Yeah.
Right? I'm going to buy this land. No, take the land.
Yeah.
No. I'm going to pay. Because I want it to cost me something, that my repentance, like my action, is worthy to the Lord, right?
Yeah. It's holy.
And so it's holy.
Yeah.
It's set apart, sanctified, set apart, right? Because it's a different way that the world would do it.
Yeah.
The world would be like, it's no big deal. Let's just keep on pressing.
Yeah.
So it's a big deal. So to your point, that's what it's about. I think is just walking through the pain,
Yeah.
and allowing healing to happen.
Right.
Right. So what did that look like for you guys? And you just said, you made a key thing. You said, you're now married. This comes to light. And you're like, please don't leave me. Please don't abandon me. Please, please, please. You're begging. I'm certain of that.
Absolutely.
And then part of it is like, okay, well then here's what you're going to have to do to show that you really are walking this out.
Yeah.
Right? Like there has to be a real,
some work to be put in, for sure.
Work.
Yeah.
It's been a process. Like even to this day, like it's the last 4 years of our marriage, it's been a roller coaster for me, and really understanding what that process looks like to submit to it.
Yeah.
And a year ago, I truly gave the Lord an abandoned yes. Just like, doesn't matter, whatever it takes, God.
I don't care about the following.
Yeah.
I don't care about the platforms.
Yeah. Even I had to even reconcile with the fact that, Lord, my marriage may not be restored, but I'm still going to choose you.
Yeah.
And I'm still going to choose freedom. So it 4 years ago, it started with us going to a counseling intensive in Colorado Springs, and with a Christian counselor that really taught and educated me on some of the struggles I was dealing with. And this man deals with people who, are pastors and leaders, politicians that, because there's a level of going through your morality struggle, but then also going through it and having people looking at you while you're doing it. There's a whole can of worms that you got to open, and for the first time, I really heard that my sexual addiction was actually an addiction. It wasn't just, dealing with sexual issues. No, that was an addiction. And I got resources and tools, education, which really helped.
It's one of the number one addictions that men deal with.
Absolutely. And the church doesn't do a great job about talking about it. You're not going to hear a message on Sunday morning from your pastor about sex addiction.
Yeah.
Like, that's just not...
Think about it. Our society has groomed us to be this way for the past 30 years.
Yeah.
40 years.
Yeah.
This is what society wanted to produce.
Yeah.
And so that it was destroy families.
Yeah.
It would destroy.
Poison.
It's a poison. And so that's.
Yeah.
So to your point, the church needs to be the one that actually talks about it.
Yeah.
And how do you get healing from this? How do you get deliverance from this? How do you break this off?
Yes.
Without it destroying your current family who loves you.
Yeah.
Right. Like, how do you do that? And so to your point, I think the fact that you shut everything down showed that you were taking it very seriously.
Yeah. I had to clear room. I had to make room for what the Lord was going to do.
Yeah.
And that I had to get rid of some of the noise. And it can be noisy when you're constantly having stuff pop up and looking at your phone, comparing yourself to other people, and just getting infiltrated with all this.
Or feeling the need to create or share with the Lord during a season where the Lord is like, actually, I'm just trying to talk to you.
Yeah. Be quiet.
Like, this is just me and you right now.
And there was a point.
Good. That's a great point.
Yeah. There was a point where I really had to make a decision, like, okay, am I going to put all these people, all these opportunities before me really being healthy, before my marriage really being healthy, or am I going to do what it takes? And I had to do what it took. So I cleared them out. I made room, and all the while still battling addictive patterns and behaviors. And I had to humble myself. I had to be made low. And one thing our pastor, the church we're attending now, spoke to me that was really impactful. He was like, you have to be made low for the Lord to do work in your life. You have to humble yourself.
Yes.
Take away the platform, take away the titles, the accolades, the followers, and make yourself low before the Lord. And that was pivotal for me in getting healing. Like going to recovery meetings. Like, that's not a fun thing to do. To go into a group, hear a group of people talk about addiction and go into counseling, like getting vulnerable, getting open, and having hard conversations with my wife.
Accountability is difficult when it's something that you're not used to having. Even for me, I never was held accountable in my Christian walk to anyone. And it was like, I even had to learn what it was like to have healthy accountability in my life for the first time ever.
That's good. I love that.
And we're so better off for it. So better off for it.
But would you say, I know one of the things that we had said, our hook here, for everyone to kind of like why they'd be interested is the dangers of becoming an influencer. What would you say would be the danger of being an influencer?
Making it all about yourself.
That's good.
Wow.
For sure.
Yeah.
It's you have to constantly give that to the Lord.
Yeah.
The platform, the following, because you got brands reaching out to you and treating you like the Queen of Sheba, and you're like, first of all, I have 30,000 followers. I'm not that serious.
Yeah.
And then, but it can quickly become, you can start to take yourself way too seriously.
Yeah. That's good.
And start creating content that's just glorifying yourself.
Yeah. Also good.
And I would say like our platforms were different. His was like pretty much only ever Christian content. And mine's not really like that. Mine is like, I share my family. I'll share clothes. I share lashes. Like I share things like that. But at the very heart of my platform, at the very heart of my page, somehow, some way, it always gets turned back to Jesus.
Yeah.
And so I try to keep that in mind. Like it'll become very easy to get wrapped up in me, and glam. And, especially as a woman, even motherhood, like all that stuff. But it's like, where is Jesus in all of that? Is Jesus being glorified on your platform? And those moments that you're having abiding with the Lord, it goes a step further into asking the Lord, is this for me or is this for me to share? Because not everything is for us to share.
That's a great point. I dealt with that a lot too, because being primarily a faith platform for myself, anytime I would hear a phrase or a word or scripture that just I thought was catchy or inspiring, I was like, oh, I'm going to make a video about this. And I can remember we were in Seattle, Washington, speaking at a youth camp up in a mountain somewhere. And a friend of mine, Jacob Coyne, who's on social media, a great minister and pastor, he was there speaking at the same youth camp. And we were talking just about social media. He had millions of followers as well, has made a real impact online. And we were talking just kind of our process on making a video and stuff. And he was like, yeah, I pray before every video I make about every video I make. And I kind of thought to myself, like, I don't do that. I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
And it made me think like, wow, yes, it's in the name of the Lord and I know God will use it and it's blessed, whatever.
Yeah, it wasn't in vain.
It wasn't in vain,
sure.
But my intent and heart may have not entirely been in the right place because I was sharing some things that may have ministered to me that I thought would sound good and be great for other people.
Yeah.
And it just had my little paint, like my little signature on it that I thought like, oh, this is going to be great.
Yeah.
But it wasn't given to God beforehand. And that can be dangerous. And I think with any platform, whether you're doing faith or you're talking about your favorite lipstick and beauty products, like giving it to the Lord, He will bless it.
Right.
And He will lead it and guide it and He'll do something with it.
It's a good point. When you talk about with family, I know there's a lot of different platforms out there that like other influencers that will talk about family and they bring their kids into it. And we've seen, and I think that's also dangerous too. For my wife has got a thing with my two littles. She's like, I don't want them on camera.
Yeah.
I'm like, they want to be on camera. She goes, I know, but I don't want them on camera.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's one thing for our adult children that want to be on, and I think that's great.
Yeah.
And she's right.
Yeah.
I've had to tell my 8-year-old, I'm sorry, honey, you can't be on the show.
Yeah.
And it's not because we don't want you on the show, because it's just there's levels of what we want to do with this. With protection.
The privacy.
So what's your thought on that?
Yeah. So there's the term, everybody's heard the term mommy bloggers.
Yeah.
And I follow some, I know I've seen a lot of it. We even have friends acquaintances in the Christian sphere of things that share their kids a lot. And I would say you've got to definitely navigate that for what your convictions are, for what you've heard from the Lord about. With in mind, like there's definitely practical things you have to do to protect your children. We never share publicly where our son goes to school. We make sure to cover his school emblem anytime he is on camera. Addresses. And I actually get asked quite a bit. So we have 2 that are just babies. We have a 2-year-old and then a 9-month-old. But I also have a 10-year-old. And I got asked even recently, people were kind of acting like I didn't love him as much because he's not on camera, or they don't see him in the background of anything. And I was like, he doesn't want to be.
Yeah.
That's it.
He's not.
I literally, and it's dumb that I even had to say anything, first of all. But I posted something and I was like, guys, he doesn't want to be on camera. Yeah. And we're not going to make him.
That's it.
One thing I'm not going to do is come to him with a content idea and be like, hey, will you be... No, because we wouldn't do that.
We have real talks with him because poor kid, he has a stepdad and a mom who are both work in social media. Yeah. And we have to talk about, okay, this isn't completely normal. This social media is not everything.
Yeah.
Having followers, because he'd go around school and be like, oh, my stepdad got 2 million followers, all this gloating about
hate
stuff.
that he even knew that.
Yeah,
but
and
he
we
used
could
to love to
see-
watch his TikToks.
Yeah, he loves to watch him, but we could see that was something for him that was marking him, and he was recognizing like this is unique. So having real talks with Jaden about like, okay, let's talk about why we do this, what it's for, what the impact is.
Let's
and
put the
why.
emphasis on that.
Let's put
Yes.
the emphasis on that
For sure.
But he's unique because we're very loud personalities, and Jaden is more like he would rather be behind the scenes, working.
Right.
These guys over here to my left who are behind the scenes in the studio, like making it happen.
Yeah.
He loves
it.
that.
Yeah.
But he doesn't necessarily want to be the man on the
Yeah.
camera. So
Yeah.
he'll make a few appearances here and
Yeah,
there. You'll find him there.
He'll
but-
do it every
We
once
can
in a while.
do,
Yeah.
If he wants to.
Unfortunately, I think the world has taken, secular society has taken the front line approach. Like they've already got the platforms. Like they've been doing this longer, right?
Yeah.
And you
Right.
got Christian influencers are stepping in like, you know what? We should be doing it too.
Yeah.
And I guess we got to do it like them, right? Mm-hmm. No, we don't.
No.
We do not need to do it like them because if we
Yeah.
look like the world and we smell like the world, aren't we just the world?
That's right.
So
and,
true.
and what are we really trying to do here, guys?
Yeah.
Right?
right.
What do we really want our life to be about?
Yeah.
And that's why
in the
I
world,
do
not
this.
of it.
Yeah.
In the world, but not of the world.
Right.
Right? It's becoming the unspotted of James 1:27. The second part, everyone puts the emphasis on caring for orphans, widows, in their distress,
Yeah.
which is pure religion, is
Right.
caring for orphans, widows, in their distress. James 1:27. But they stop. Part B says, and become unspotted by this world. Don't become spotted by this world. What
so
does that
good.
mean? Don't be spotted. Don't let the world's mark be on you.
Right.
That's so good.
We don't need to do everything the way they do it.
Yeah.
We talked about earlier algorithms, right? Well, the
Right.
algorithm is controlled by whoever, Google,
Culture,
whoever runs
yeah.
it, right? YouTube,
Yeah.
whoever's running it. But
Yeah.
I think the point though is that there are things that we need to do that make sense.
Yeah.
So that we actually show up in your feed right now. I mean, that's why we showed up in your feed. That you saw the thumbnail, right?
Yeah.
It was intentional. Like there's
Right.
certain things we want to do it. But I think, and we said this earlier, I think because we have the Holy Spirit dwelling within us, and Andreas and I were talking about this earlier as well, we should be creating content that is like really
apart.
inspired,
Yeah.
really, really set
Absolutely.
apart.
So true.
And that's really meeting people in their heart, where like
Yeah.
the life spring is the heart, right? Life flows out of the heart. Our life flows what's going on inside of us. That's why we want our Messiah inside of us.
Man, I think with what you're talking about in being a present online, I think the world, you look at how the Bible says to make the gospel attractive.
Yes.
And I think the world is driven by desire, and desire is oftentimes driven by lust. So the world
Yeah.
is very much driven by lust. So
That's a good point.
you look at things that you want.
You lust after
You
it,
lust
yeah, whatever
after
it is.
online.
Yeah.
But attraction, I think, when the Bible talks about making the gospel attractive, it's driven by affection. And I think when you are somebody who's creating, and it's blessed, and the Lord breathes on it, it's driven by that affection, not by lust. And I think that's you can be creative and have the best equipment and make it just beautiful, and that's amazing. But the heart behind it is what's really going to set it apart.
Yeah.
And from my perspective, and because I started on TikTok when it switched over from Musical.ly to TikTok, so I was one of the first few people in the Christian content sector creating on the app. There were very, very few of us who were weirdos that just were making stuff online. But I got a front row seat. Is that the term? Front row seat?
Yeah.
Yeah, I got a front row seat to really see it evolve and change.
Yeah.
So I watched young people who 16, 17 years old who overnight hundreds of thousands of followers were now tuned in to what they were creating.
Yeah.
And you can see a spirit shift.
Yes.
You can see people go from really bearing their heart and sharing that affection to where there's almost like a spirit of lust that comes upon to attract people.
Yes.
And that's what you're driven by.
Yeah.
And that's a dangerous place to be.
Yeah.
I think
For
even
sure.
in the kingdom, there's a constant posture of, Lord, search my heart and know me.
Make my hands clean.
So true.
Make my hands clean.
So true.
And that's been, I think, our position
Yeah.
lately of just like, Lord, what amazing opportunity and blessing it is to be able to do what we're doing.
Yes.
And not only do it personally, but now we have the opportunity to do it for other businesses and,
That's right.
and companies and organizations. But it's a continuous, like, God, make our hands clean, because
Yeah.
for a long time they were dirty.
Heart check.
And I know what I know what that does. When your hands are dirty, everything you touch
Gets dirty.
gets dirty.
That's right.
So I think that's been
true.
a blessing
So
for
true.
us.
There should be a clear distinction too. Like when you see, I mean, I'm just going to say it. There's lots of personalities that are Christian influencers and people that kind of wear that label that it's like, I don't know about that. You know,
Are they
like,
just appealing?
You can't,
Are they
you
just
can't be
appealing
a
to the
pastor
Christian
and a
market?
thirst trap
Right.
at the same time.
Yeah.
And so,
Are you marketing or are you ministering?
Right.
What's the difference here?
Right. Is it just your niche or is it your actual lifestyle? Yeah. And so you've really got to just check your heart, check your intentions. And sometimes that means going outside yourself because we don't always have the best judgment for ourselves. Like there's been times where I have to be, accountability for him and be like, I don't know about that actually. Like, and having a heart that's receptive to that kind of feedback, having people in your life that are wiser than you are is so important to be like, I don't know about that actually. Or
so well said.
Yeah. So it's
good.
It's just it's a balance of things and we don't always do it perfectly for sure. Like not ever, but we're aware of it. Yeah. And so, it's a constant trying to get there.
Yeah. I think a great point you just made there. I know it's true for Megan and I is, and I have some other people in my life as well, that I invite them in to just speak as blunt as possible to me. Yeah. And let's not focus on offending me or hurting my feelings. Yeah. Tell me what you see. Tell me what you know is wrong. Yeah. And it is really hard. I know with Megan and I, because I respect almost everything she says. I kind of like,
hang on.
And so, so I mean, because she doesn't say a lot, but when she does say it, I listen, and it's hard to hear it at times. It's really hard to hear it. Yeah. And because it's hard to hear it at times, I go like this.
Right.
And then her voice goes up, and then mine goes up, and then I'm like, no, let's not get into this. Yeah. Let's not get into this. Oh, yeah, come on, because this is life, right? We're talking about life.
We call those blind spots.
Yeah, and they are blind spots. Yeah. And our spouses, if we invite them to, and in the right spirit of, will put the spotlight on the blind spot for us to see it, and we'll be like, I don't believe it. I wouldn't do that. But no. Come on, this is what you want in our relationship. You want me to show you, yes or no? Or do you want the world to show you? You want the enemy to bring that out in front of everybody? You want me to show you here so we can dress it here between me and you?
True. Yeah.
And I think that's I love my wife for that. And because it's she's willing to put herself in a place where she knows she's going to have to elevate her voice with me. Yeah. Because I'm a little bit of, hard-headed. But I have invited her to do that with me since we've been together. Yeah. Since we've been together for 23 years, 24 years. So if you don't have that in your life, you are setting yourself up to fail and not fail like I believe in failing. Like you fail and you can grow from your failures, but you're setting yourself up to fall.
Fall. Yeah.
Fall and fail are two different things.
So true.
Failure is a part of life, but falling, you don't have to fall. Yeah. And because you can catch yourself while you're falling or you're about to fall, right? But to the point you made, as we kind of wrap up our conversation, if we're not addressing the things from our past that we know are shameful, they will become what bring you down. Yeah. Because that is what the enemy describes. That's what the enemy wants to do. He wants to, and that's why protecting our children is so vital. Sure. Right? Not confusing our children. Yeah. None of this nonsense of saying, it's okay to be whatever you want. You identify as a cat, be a cat. That is ludicrous. That's wrong. Yeah. It's bad. Yeah. God made you a male and he made you a female. So it's very, very special and we're made in his image. That's right. And don't let the school world or anybody else tell you that you should have a different viewpoint.
Oh gosh.
Because those are entry points for our children that will make their life corrupted when they're an adult.
Yeah.
Sure. Right? And so our responsibility as parents, in my opinion, is to protect the innocence of our children. Yeah. Right? And so, but like me as well, I have a very similar story as you. Our lives, our innocence can be stolen when you're very young. And when that happens and you're not allowed to talk about it because it's like a family secret or it's shameful, whatever. Everybody's got their own we just don't talk about that, but we all know, right? That's something that there needs to be like the healing balm of the Holy Spirit over that, especially as you start to raise your own family now, right? Yeah. And so I just think that just the fact you sharing that is I'm sure very freeing for people to hear that. And like you said, there are people that are trained that have sat through thousands of sessions with people who have gone through abuse, right? Yeah. And or addictions that know how to help navigate you out of it from a biblical perspective.
Yeah.
So true.
From a biblical perspective. But we want to think that nobody can hear this. It'll ruin me. It'll hurt them. And no,
the world is so much better off.
It's so much better off being
So much
free.
better off.
Being
Yeah.
free.
Yeah.
Now, hey, it is what it is. Now I know, and now I know how to at least put the shield up or something, at least prevent me from having that situation. And I know social media can be like that too. I mean, I won't go on TikTok, even though we have a TikTok account. So you're probably hearing, I don't know if you are or not, but you might just scroll and you got nudity right in front of you. You're like, whoa, I'm not even, like, this is my first time being on.
Yeah.
Why is that right in front of me?
Yeah.
And so there's things like that it's so difficult, to guard yourself. So then just remove yourself.
Yeah.
And that's why a lot of people don't do social media.
Yeah.
And I'm very aware of that.
Oh, yeah.
But again, it's those knowing how to protect ourselves,
Right.
so that we can help others,
Yeah.
right?
Oh, yeah.
And so I believe that we can be a positive voice on social media for the kingdom of God.
Yeah.
And you guys are doing it, and I like the fact that you had a reset. That's awesome. Like that really is a blessing.
It has been.
Because a lot of people don't get the reset.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I get asked all the time, like, when is Grayson coming back? We miss Grayson's content. And when is he coming back? And I'm just like, guys, just trust that this is for the better.
We're walking things out.
Yeah.
And then when people see that,
Yeah.
it puts a check in their own heart, in their own mind, like, oh, maybe I should take a break too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it's an unbelievable thing to some people.
Yeah.
They're like, wait, he got off altogether? It's like, yes.
Yeah.
It's a big thing to lay down. But
And you're not missing much.
No,
in many
it's
respects,
been
you're
so
not.
quiet. It's been so nice.
You have peace. Peace
Yeah.
kind of comes back in.
Yeah.
I was thinking about how if I continue on in a certain thing, I keep doing a certain thing, like I can't lay this down. I have to keep doing this. This is who I am. This is what I've meant to be. What if you're dead tomorrow? What if you're dead this afternoon? What if you had a choice? Die this afternoon, and or live but let this go? What would you do?
Wow.
Would you live and let go what you thought your life was all about?
right.
So you could live with your family and maybe live in a new dynamic of your family?
Yeah.
Or would you want to die today because you would never want to let it go?
Yeah. Wow.
Does that make sense?
That's great.
Yeah.
That's so good.
So
That's so good.
it's a choice for all of us.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
You know?
it's a dying to self so you can live.
And
That's what it is.
that's what the scriptures is all about. If we die to ourselves so that Christ can live in us, our life actually will be like
Yeah.
it's like a born again experience.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's right.
It's a whole new experience of life that we get to see and live through. And it's true in whatever we do in life, right? Because I truly believe that though business, I know we appeal to a lot of entrepreneurs and Christian kingdom-minded entrepreneurs, but business is like it's like the Holy Grail, unfortunately, in our life, and I want to see them take that down for myself as well. Take that down from the Holy Grail. Don't let it be your business is the all encompassing. Stop that. Take that down. Put Christ back there.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
right.
And
Put
then
Christ
watch
back there.
everything else be blessed because of that.
That's exactly right. That is the reality. Everything else becomes blessed
Yeah.
because now you're not
Gosh,
sitting on
we
the
have
throne.
so seen that. We used to spin our wheels just trying to make things happen. And it's so funny when he laid down social media and then we just over the last year, the Lord is like, I'm telling you, and even me too, like there's been things that I've had to lay down myself and the Lord has just blessed everything, our business,
Yeah.
even social media, like even that's something that you can tell that the Lord's in. So it's it's been so good.
Yeah.
It's been great getting to know you guys.
Yeah, man. This has been so
I'm
fun.
really thankful that
Absolutely.
We've connected. How can people connect with you guys? I know you've got a social media marketing firm.
We do. Our content marketing company is Bearden & Co. We create content for organizations, businesses, companies, nonprofits all across Texas. And we create content, help them with websites, just any type of online presence. We can help spread your voice and enhance it to reach the masses online. And babe, your socials?
Yeah.
What do you do?
Jeslyn Bearden.
Yeah.
You can find me on all the things.
Okay, good.
And his, I'm not going to say when, but he'll be back soon.
Yeah. They may be reactivated. They may be public for you to follow if you want. They may not be. I don't know. You'll have to go check and see.
See what happens. It's just part of the journey.
It is,
Yeah.
man.
It's a fun journey.
One day at a time.
and you guys are you're at a point in your life where You think you've lived your life and you've lived so much, but you're actually just at the beginning of it.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
the truth, man.
That's the good thing. We look at that like a good thing.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's right.
Thank you, Lord, that we got to get all this mess out the way.
Come on.
So that
'cause
we can just...
It's just going to prepare you. It's
Yeah.
going to prepare you for the next thing comes down and it knocks at the door. Typically, and I'm going to close with this. This is what happens when preachers we get on here. Typically, the enemy knocks at the door.
Yeah.
But he knocks at the back door.
Yeah.
And our God, our God says, Jesus says, "Behold, I stand at the door and I knock. And will you open the door and sup with me? Will you dine with me? But he stands at the front door knocking.
Yeah.
So our Savior is knocking at our door, but he's knocking at the front door while the enemy's knocking at the back door.
Right.
And or knocking at the window.
Yeah.
And so I think for any of us listening today, you hear that, hear that door knock. Check the door, make sure you know which door it is before you
Come on.
So
That's
good.
good.
And
right
so
there.
that's a key thing is our Savior, he always goes to the front door. He doesn't do anything in secret.
Yeah.
Doesn't make you feel dirty when you go through that door.
That's right.
It makes you feel clean, and he washes you clean.
So good.
So if you're going to walk in a path of being an influencer, make sure you're going through the right doors.
That's
True.
And whenever all these other people come knocking at your doors, like we've had several people knocking at our doors now, check that spirit. Check that spirit. And even if they promise you access to a very, very big influential influencer, if it doesn't feel right, if he doesn't sense right, I don't care how many people they can open you up to.
Gosh, that's
they're not
so
opening
good.
up to the right people.
That's good. That's
Right?
right. That's right.
So let's just be really mindful of that as we continue in our journey, and we're journeying together. I'm really grateful that I got to meet with you guys, and I know that there's a lot of other people out there as well that other also Christian influencers that we have plans to meet with and hopefully sharpen. We sharpen one another, share our stories with one another, and so that we become like a band of brothers in a sense, so that we can climb the mountain together.
Well, that's what the body should be, right?
That's it.
We should be doing it together.
We're doing it together. There's no reason to feel like we're isolated or make us feel like the enemy always wants to make us feel like we're alone.
Yeah.
And it's just you, right? But really,
the biggest lie.
But really, there's a remnant.
It is.
Our God Yahweh, he's got a remnant all over this world
That's right.
that are seeking him in righteousness and holiness. Right?
Yeah.
And so that's the beautiful thing about just being raw and being real.
Yeah.
This is where we're at. That's what we're doing.
Yeah.
So, hey, guys, thanks for tuning in. We're grateful that you were that you joined us. Again, if you would like, subscribe and ring the bell, because if you don't subscribe, we can't continue. The algorithm doesn't like that. So we're trying to work with this algorithm so that we can reach more people with this message. Share this with your friends and family. Share this with your worship leaders. Share this with people that you know who are influencers, because really that's the key thing here, guys. They need to hear this, the dangers of influencing. There's a lot of blessings, but there is some things that can cause some pain as well. So we appreciate you. We'll see you next time. God bless you guys.